Hello, fellow writers. I'm Lewis. That over there is Tolkien, and you have found the Scripturient Society.
Welcome back, everyone. It took me a minute to remember how we usually do this shebang because we've been on hiatus for a minute. Lots of exciting life stuff going on. That over
Oh,
there
yes.
is Karissa Harlow, aka Lewis, aka Catherine, and I'm Ash O'Rourke, aka Tolkien, aka It's so hot that my brain is boiling. So I'm sorry if I don't make any sense today. So.
It has been there's been a heat wave going on. Have you seen all those like jokes about how British people think it's so hot in the UK right now and it's like 78 degrees Fahrenheit and like people in America are like you don't know what heat is.
That's infuriating. I don't like
Yeah.
to be like, no, you guys just don't get it. But I'm also like,
You
that
guys don't get
sounds,
it.
you don't get it. Yeah. Wow,
Yeah.
my face is even like swollen from the heat. Like I'm looking at my
Is
face and I'm
it?
like,
It looks like a pleasant glow.
thank you. I think it looks notably swollen from all of the heat and humidity. So
Eh,
that's a little bit funny. But
that's fine.
anyways, we have so many exciting updates, particularly you. Would you like to tell us how your
Yeah.
weeks, plural, have been?
Thanks. I know. I have so many, I don't need, like, there's so many things you could be referring to there.
Okay.
First of all, I got to go to my cousin's wedding in Colorado,
Woot
which
woot.
was so much fun. It was probably one of, if not the most beautiful weddings I've ever been to. It was just like, I don't know, aesthetically, it was beautiful, but also just like the stuff the pastor said and like my cousin, she was so happy and it was just amazing. So I'm so glad I got to
Aw.
go. And I was in Colorado for basically like a week and a half. And I road tripped with my aunt and uncle, which was really fun. And we listened to an audiobook, so that was cool.
Nice.
Yeah, good overall trip. And my cousins, two of them have kids, right? Like the
Hmm.
oldest is he's not quite 4 yet, and then the youngest is like I think she's like a year and a half or whatever. So I got to like
Precious.
spend time with them, and it was so cool. Um,
Aw.
KJ, who's the almost 4-year-old, he's really into dinosaurs and he
Hmm.
likes to read. So I got to read him dinosaur books and we bonded, and I think I might be his favorite, but you know,
Ha ha. Well, duh, because dinosaurs plus books, of
I
course.
mean, it's the best combination. So
Yeah.
I'm like, all I had to do was read to him and play with his dinosaur cars because he also really loves cars. So, I mean, it wasn't hard, but I do think I'm up there. So, you know.
Nice. Love that.
Yeah, and then my okay, so this is funny. So I got to like do bachelorette stuff with my cousin too.
Hmm.
And so we like she rented this Airbnb and we just kind of hung out for a couple days. We did a lot of stuff, but they were all the other girls were talking, just I don't even remember why. And they said, "You know what name I really like for a child? Riley." And I was like, "Oh my gosh, what?" Like
Nailed
my
it.
friend has she named her, her kid that. And they're like, "Wait, but like a boy or a girl?" And I'm like, "Boy." And they're like, "Oh my gosh, that's the perfect name." And so
Yeah, it is.
yeah. So I was just, I don't know, I had to tell you that. It was really cool. I was like, I actually know someone whose kid is named Riley and he's a
That's so
boy.
cute. Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
That's
So
so sweet.
apparently you're more on trend than maybe you thought you were or were trying to be. Who knows?
Yeah, I mean, Riley was just the only name that we liked.
Mm,
I mean, there was no trying or not trying to be on trend. It was the only boy name that we agreed on, so there was absolutely
nice.
no other options.
All right, well, good choice.
Thank you, thank you.
Yeah, so I feel like there are so many stories from the wedding that would bore all of you guys. So those were the ones probably most relevant, except we did so I'm not like a person who went clubbing a lot or goes clubbing a lot, but my cousin, she likes wine. She likes to drink, like reasonably. So we
Hmm.
like did the bike bar thing where you like
Uh-huh.
pedal into, which was actually very fun because I don't know if it actually keeps you a little more sober or a little more like aware because you're exercising, but it was very fun. So
Aw.
we did that. And I earned the nickname Library Girl because if you
Fitting.
guys will ease into the next topic of conversation if you can see me, but I am very close to being considered officially a library because you need 1,000 books to do so, and I have like 960 something.
What?
So I told this as like a fun fact. So the rest of the weekend I was library girl. So
That's amazing.
yes. And my cousin actually called me last night kind of out of the blue, which was really cool. I was like, "Oh," she's like, "I wanted to hear your voice." And I was like, "Well, that's super
Aw.
sweet." And she said her friends are still like asking, like, how's library girl doing? Like, is she a library yet? And I'm like, that's exactly how I want to be known.
That's hilarious. Oh, that's so cute. Oh, that's funny.
Um, so all of that to segue into I moved, right? I still live with my parents, which is great because we get along well and we don't have to, split the dogs because that would be really hard at this point. So I don't know how that's
Yeah.
going to work out long term.
Yeah.
And they're actually adjusting very well. Like my parents took them to the old house the other day and they like weren't having it. They're like, "Nah, we're attached to the new house already." I'm like,
We don't live
"You
here anymore.
yeah, you grew up here. Like what do you mean you don't want to be here anymore?"
Instant
Um
attachment. That is
yeah,
hilarious.
I know they love the yard and all the stuff. So, I got like my room has an entire wall of bookshelves. If you can see me on YouTube, if you
It's
can't just
amazing.
imagine a wall of bookshelves, it's literally only missing a ladder. And I do need a step stool to get to the top. That is like actively way taller than me. So,
Yeah. Oh my
um,
gosh, it looks so
yeah.
good.
It's amazing. I'm so proud of it. Like
You
I
should
worked pretty
be.
hard to get stuff like just right. I have just the right amount of knickknacks on the shelves to give it some
You
interest.
do.
I have a little bit of extra room so that I can get to 1,000 books. And then I
Mhm.
actually have, you can't see all my bookshelves. I also have a bookshelf on my headboard, which I did all of my standalones in a rainbow. So like,
Nice, very
which is
nice.
very aesthetically pleasing. I like it. And then I have like a rotating shelf. What's the word for that? That it's like you spin it and then there are books on different sides.
I don't
And then I
know,
have
but
like,
very much like a library.
yes, exactly. And then I have like a classic shelf. It's like a stair step bookshelf in the corner.
Nice.
So I'm very happy with it. And
That's
I may or may not
amazing.
have already bought another bookshelf to put on top of the one. You guys can't see it, but there's a little bit of room over there that there's
Oh
just
my
enough space for
gosh.
another one that I may or may not need because as I put the books on the shelves, I, realized where the gaps were, and I may have gone on a little bit of a book buying splurge. So,
Got to
just
get you're that much closer.
I did thrift books to save money. So
Love
there's a
it.
tip if you're
Love
trying to
thrift
get to a
books.
thousand books, yes.
Mm-hmm.
And then I feel so awkward. So my family that lives in town, like, or like in the state, actually, they came to visit. They all like came through to see the house because, my parents have been building this house for like 2 years, almost three, I think. So everyone
Mm-hmm.
was really excited to see it. And they came over and, like I'm library girl. So they're like, oh my gosh, you have all the books and stuff. And
Mm-hmm.
so I told them the library fact. And now they're all like, well, give us a list of books and we'll like each buy you one and then you can get up to 1,000. So I'm like writing this really awkward email to all of my family members, just being like, you are not obligated to buy me books. But if you want to,
But
here
if
is a
you so
list.
choose, here are the
Yes.
books.
Yep. And then I have like some cousins that are younger than me that are like still in school. And I'm like, do I put them on the list? I don't want that. They have no disposable income. I don't want to make them feel like they have to buy me anything. But then I'm like, but I don't want to make the other family members feel like they have to buy me anything either. So
Yeah,
it's
that's hilarious.
it's a thing. And then one of my friends, well, two of my other friends, they're in this like little book club thing that I could join, but honestly, I've just been too lazy. And they read Spinning Silver by Naomi Novik, which I think
Mm-hmm.
is a Rumpelstiltskin retelling,
Mm-hmm.
and they didn't really like it. So they're like, "Do you want our copies of the book?" I'm like, yes.
Yes.
So I really liked Uprooted, which was her Beauty and the Beast retelling.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like maybe that's just a taste thing and I would like it. So possibly that book is in my future as well.
That's
So
amazing. I have a book for you
amazing. Ooh.
from Catherine, our listener Catherine. Hi,
Oh,
Catherine. I am so 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 sorry. She sent me a book. She actually sent me four books. Well, actually two,
ooh.
no, five, because she sent me two for Riley and they're adorable.
Ah.
And then my book and one for Kendall. And there's another one that I just hope I'm slightly spoiling the surprise. I'm very sure
Hmm.
it's a book. It's wrapped in Christmas wrapping paper.
Oh
Harry
my gosh.
Potter. I believe it's Harry Potter wrapping paper. And I literally have it with a stack of things I need to take to the post office. I'm just so horrible at going to the post office,
Me
but I
too.
have it for you. So Catherine also has a
Yay.
book to contribute,
Oh my
and
gosh.
I just keep hoping that I'll see you
Right.
sooner than I'll get
Like
to the
maybe I'll
post
just like
office.
lure her into visiting. Like I do really want to visit you. So the friends that have the book club, they're actually in Austin for 4th of July, like week or weekend or whatever to visit
Oh,
their friend.
fun.
And I'm like, okay, next time you guys go to Austin, let me know because I'll
Yeah.
go with you and then we can just kind of part ways and we can do the plane together, but then I can go see my friend and you can see yours.
Yes. Oh, that'd be so
So,
fun.
yes.
That's
So hopefully
awesome.
that's in the future soon. But
Oh, yes,
I
please.
I do feel like I need a separate bookshelf now for just all the books people have bought me to get me to 1,000 books and like just
Like
a
the
little special
donated.
section. Yeah.
Well, you need to
And
get like
like,
a stamp made that says like donated to the Library of
yes,
Carissa Harlow by, and then they
bye.
sign their name or
Oh, that would be so
something,
cool. That would
right?
be super cool. So, I do have also, and when I was like unloading the books onto the shelves, it was this whole process. I have a bookshelf inventory. So I printed the inventory and I was marking them off as I took them out of the boxes. And then for a gift, one of my, I think I can show it to you guys right here. My family members gave me like a book embosser.
Did you emboss
So
all of them? That's
I
my
embossed all
dream.
of them. Yes. So it's just like, Ex Libris Carissa Harlow. And I did that in all the books. And then that
Ah,
was like my official, I felt like I was actually processing books into a library, which I
you
have done
basically
before because,
were.
yeah, I worked in a library. I'm like, this is basically how the process works.
Yeah.
So it was very cool.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh. Oh, that's so cool. That's
Yeah.
so fun.
So
Oh,
I'm excited. But
that is
I
exciting. I
mean,
love your little
there's,
library sign behind you.
I know
Yeah.
my mom did get me a lot of stuff because she got me most of the, I think the major bookshelves behind me, my parents got me, but it was my dad's idea when I was in college. And so
Hmm.
like they surprised me when I came home for I think Thanksgiving break or whatever. And then all the other bookshelves my mom bought me specifically for this room. So, and like a
That's
couple knickknacks,
amazing.
library sign. Very
Well,
you can't
you
see it,
said
but
like your mom's very interior design.
yes,
So,
people have been
yeah.
coming by and asking like, so did you get an interior designer? And she's like, nope, this is just me. And they're like, well, maybe you should be an interior designer
Yeah.
because
I need pictures because
I
I need
know
inspiration. So
I keep
bring them
forgetting until
on.
like 10 p.m. and I'm like, well, the lighting sucks now and like
It's
other
okay. I'll
people are
just text
asleep.
your
So
mom. It's okay. I'll just text. I'll be like, "Hey, Mama Kim, can I please have
yes,
pictures of every room of your house? Not to be creepy."
I know. She's like, I'm probably gonna take my own pictures. I'm like, well, if you get to those anytime soon, send them to Ash because I keep forgetting.
And I
So
want them.
yes.
Yeah.
So I think you'll particularly like the guest room because it's all travel themed and there's a wall with like Scrabble words. It's like a Scrabble game, which is
What?
super cool. It's like wander and, travel
Yeah.
and things like that. So
Cute.
it's a very well put together house and it will stay that way. So
That's so nice. I love that so
yeah,
much.
yes. But I think those are the major items for me. What's going
The
on with you?
highlights.
Yes.
Well, we've been getting bids from contractors for our
Yeah,
house, which is so
exciting.
great. And because my parents very diplomatically informed me that our house should be condemned, which is true. I think it probably if someone came to inspect it, it would be condemned. It's like it's not
Okay.
good. So I'm
Right.
very excited that we're about to get to actually finally begin with the help of my parents, which is amazing.
Oh,
Um,
cool.
but they're not buying us the house, but they are helping us like with a loan, which is
Mm-hmm.
amazing because it's just impossible. And VA
Mm-hmm.
construction loans are like unicorns. They're so hard to come by. So,
Right.
anyways, we've been getting bids from contractors and I'm so excited. We just met with
Yay.
some more contractors today, and it's like I'm chomping at the bit because I'm like, okay, we're ready to go. And then it's like, oh
Mm-hmm.
wait, no, we still need to hear from this other contractor and get their bid. And the guys who
Mm-hmm.
came today seem like, yeah, what you want is totally doable, which is great because it's kind of unique. And so some people have been like, no, like, because
Right.
they just don't want to, like, they don't want to deal with it, which is
Mm-hmm.
understandable. But these guys seemed like, yeah, this is pretty interesting. Yeah, I think we can totally do that. But they're like, so we'll get that bid over to you in a couple weeks. And I'm
Uh,
like, no,
how
because
about today?
I know, and because everyone's off like for Thursday and Friday this week. I'm just off
Mm-hmm.
Thursday, but
Right.
because it's the 4th. Happy 4th, everybody. This
Yeah.
will get to you later, but still, hooray, happy
Yeah.
4th. Hope you guys did some fun stuff. And then he's on vacation the next week, which I is fair.
Of course. Yeah.
So yeah. So that's happening. My child has popped another tooth, which is, yes, it's early. He has his two bottom teeth and a giant top tooth that just
Oh
popped
my
through.
gosh.
So he is teething so early, and I just have to assume it's because he eats constantly. Like breakfast especially is like an hour and a half, 2-hour event every single day.
Wow.
Because you'll be like, okay, surely he's done now. And then he's like slapping the tray for more. And you're like, what else do we have? And so like
Mm-hmm.
he's only 8 months old and eating us out of everything. Like
Oh my
there's
gosh.
it's crazy. And he can eat almost anything too. He'll just like he
Right.
grabbed like a pickle spear and he just chomped it down. And I was
All
like,
right.
you're an infant, but
Yeah.
okay.
If
Yeah.
you want to try that, you go for it.
Yeah, so I have to keep like a close eye on him too, because he'll do this thing where he'll shove as much in his mouth as possible, and then really calmly he'll go and spit it out because he's gagged on it, and then he'll pick it up and just put it back in with like no change in expression. And
Wow.
I'm so glad he's got such an effective gag reflex, but he's also like he like because eggs are his favorite. So he'll just like
Aw.
scrambled eggs, one whole egg, two bites. And he can do it. And it's
Wow.
terrifying. So yeah.
Oh my gosh. He's a little monster. I love
He
it.
is. And he's so skinny, but he's so long. He
Hmm.
is long. So for my Riley update, he is actually he's almost 9 months old, but he's wearing 18-month-old clothes. So just in case
So
anyone was
who
like,
knows how old he is?
yeah, I mean you would never know, except that he's
Yeah.
skinny. But
Mhm.
anyway, so that's been fun. We finally, after more than a year, took in my car to the mechanic today and dropped it off. And I've just said,
Nice.
I'm just gonna have to pay it off. Like I'm just gonna have to pay like because I feel like it's gonna be a lot to fix. I could
Mm.
miraculously get really lucky and it's not as expensive as I think, but considering that I replaced the radiator fan and one of the fuses and that didn't solve the problem and those were the cheap fixes, I'm like, I don't think anything that's left that it could be is gonna be cheap.
Right.
I hope so, but I doubt it. So I'm just like, hello, credit card. Meet vehicle expenses because
Yeah.
I just it's so silly. And right now, Hobby's mom is staying with us, and I want her to have a safe car to drive that has air conditioning. So I'm
Mm.
like, why am I paying off this car every
Yeah.
month? And it's almost paid off completely too, that I can't even drive. So
Right.
that's exciting. It's been over a year coming. And then so oh yes. Here's my latest update. Winchester, our giant outdoor farm dog, who is such a sweet
Mhm.
boy, I noticed he had this big old bubble on his ear. And I
Oh
was like,
no.
did you get bit by a spider or something? And it was the weekend. So I called the vet and they called me back on Monday and scheduled an appointment. So we bring him in and it's like a blood-filled hematoma, like a big blood pocket. He has an ear infection in both ears, two different bacterial infections, not just
Oh
one.
no.
And so I felt horrible. He also is allergic. He's got a few fleas, which is not surprising. Everyone in our area is struggling so much with fleas right now.
Oh no.
It's awful. It's horrible. But I'm surprised he only had a few fleas on him. But apparently he's either allergic to fleas or mites, they think. And so he's got this like red rash all over his belly and his legs, and he's
Aw.
so itchy, and his skin is bright red. And
Aw.
I feel, and he's losing his hair in patches. And so I'm just like, this
Poor
poor
baby.
dog. And so I felt absolutely horrible when they said that about the ear infection, because I was like, I had no idea. And I have seen dogs
Hmm.
with ear infections. I cannot express to you how completely okay he seemed. I have never seen him mess with his ears once. And to be fair, they did say when they were back there, like messing with his ears, he didn't react at all. They said he is
Hmm.
incredibly stoic. And I was like,
He's just taking it like a champ.
he is. He's like, it's okay, Ma. I'm gonna be okay. And I'm
I'll
like,
get through
Winnie.
this.
Yeah,
You
so
need antibiotics.
I felt horrible. Like he really needs antibiotics, and actually, and
Hmm.
to the point that he needs surgery. So he's actually in
Oh.
surgery right now. He's just had surgery and he's recovering. So I'm gonna go pick him up
Hmm.
in a couple hours. But for the giant hematoma in his ear, they had to drain the blood out of the giant pocket and then like quilt stitch his ear back together so it doesn't just
Oh.
refill with blood. And
Right.
so, and now he's got to be at home for 3 weeks, and
Ugh.
I have to give him like 3 pills a day and like 8 drops of this antibiotic in each ear, and it's just going to be so difficult. But they also were able to get the rest of his mats out. He's very sensitive about his his little hindquarters. All over
Hmm.
his legs and his little hindquarters, he gets these big mats. And when he loses his winter coat from like the underneath, like I try and help him get it out, but
Hmm.
he's so sensitive about his tail and his little hindquarters that I had barely gotten any of them. So like you can see like the like very like shoddy like chop job I did of his fur.
Uh-huh.
And they said, yeah, he was kind of sensitive about it, but we were able to shave them out. And I was like, bless you, people. Bless you so
Thank you.
much. Thank you. But it was funny because he's so stoic, and it's not like he's like, ow, that hurts. He's just like he'll literally go up and he'll look at you like you hurt his feelings. Like he's
Oh,
just very sensitive. I think he's self-conscious about his hiney. I don't know.
no, I feel that. It's fine.
I know it's fair. I'm like a lot of us do, you know?
Yeah, it's
So
normal.
Yeah. So I'm happy we're gonna get to pick him up. But I feel horrible. And also I'm dreading this giant dog with a giant cone and also not cheap. So my credit card is getting a workout, which I hate. I cannot express how much I hate that. I am
Yeah.
incredibly fiscally responsible to the point of like OCD. Like I have never until this month ever not paid off all of my credit card well in advance. I
Yeah.
only use the credit card to build my
For
credit
convenience.
score.
Yes,
Yeah,
exactly.
exactly. And so it's
You're
all
debt
in one
averse.
place. Yeah,
Yeah, I am
exactly.
too. I hate holding debt.
It is stressing me out so badly. And I'm like, Ash, just give it a month and you're going to pay it off. You can't help the fact that you have to fix your car because you have to have a safe car for your family to drive. And your dog needed surgery. Like, you can't
Right.
help that.
These
It's
are
gonna
right
be
now
fine.
costs. So it's like a good use. It's not like you're going shopping for like fun. It's like good
No.
use of it, but it's still like, man, that's just hanging
Yeah,
over me now.
it is. And
Ugh.
it's killing me because I'm probably going to owe like an
Yeah.
interest payment on it, which
hmm
is, again, it's going to be like a month. So it's not that bad. But it's like, oh, just killing. My skin is like crawling. I hate it so much.
What you have to do, this is what my dad would tell you, you got to find the 0% interest for like 12 months cards and you plan those. And my dad does, he like cycles through them. He
Oh,
just
that's
finds one
smart.
basically every year and then he can hold it on the cards without feeling as stressed because there's not as much interest. So I don't know if it's too late for that, but you can
Well, it is
think
this
about that
time, but
maybe.
not in the
Yeah.
future. That's very smart. Like if I had
Yes.
predicted, because we also had to pay for my
hmm
wisdom teeth this year, and a couple months ago we had to pay to fix the AC, which is always incredibly expensive.
Yep.
And so like we just had wham bam bam bam, like three big expenses in a short period of time. Like if I had
hmm
predicted that,
Yeah.
this would have been that year.
Right. But yeah, I
And
guess
it's
in the
never been a
future,
problem.
just kind of
Yeah.
keep them rolling over.
Yeah,
But
that's smart.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
But anyways, that's now you guys all know more than you wanted to know about my financial stress. But it's fine. I should say I am incredibly blessed and lucky. I have a job. My husband has
hmm
a job. We're gonna be okay. Like
Yeah.
I hate the way it feels to owe money, but it's not like an insane amount and it'll be fine. And I'm
Yeah.
lucky. So
Occasionally as like a guilty pleasure, I like to watch those podcasts where it's like a financial advisor and people are just making like the worst financial decisions of all time.
it makes you
And
feel better, right?
yeah, I'm like, man,
Yeah.
I'm doing really well. Like, it's
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah. I completely agree. I'm like,
Yeah.
yeah, there's people out there doing dumber things.
hmm And the way they talk about it, sometimes they're just like, well, I didn't know you had to pay it off. I'm like, what do you mean you didn't know you had to pay it off? It's a credit card. Like, that's the whole point. You thought it
It's
was free?
it's very confusing. Some people are the financial education of youth in the US is abysmal and horrifying.
Yeah.
Like, not to get political because I'm not going to talk about my political feelings on it, and I actually have mixed feelings about it. But like the
hmm
whole like school loan repayment thing, right?
hmm
Like I keep seeing people be like, it just goes away. It just
Yeah.
goes away. And
They'll
I'm
just
like,
forgive it. I'm like, oh, no, that's not how that
someone
works.
has to pay it. I was
Yeah.
like, maybe you won't have to pay it, but someone still has to pay it. It's not like it just
The
dissolves and
colleges
no
aren't
money
just
is
like, we
owed.
don't need money now. Like,
Yeah, they're
that's
like,
not
you
what's
know what? Never
happening.
mind. Never mind. We don't need to pay
Yeah.
our staff. We
We'll
don't need to
waive
pay
it.
for infrastructure. It's fine. And then my
Yeah.
big problem from the bureaucracy is because college is wildly, like, overly
Mm.
over
Super
expensive.
inflated.
Yeah, so inflated because there's so much bureaucracy that doesn't need to be involved. And
hmm
government regulations, not that I'm an anarchist, but it is weird that they're so involved in higher
Yeah.
education. But anyway, so it's just weird because I keep seeing people like, it just goes away. And I'm like, regardless of your feelings on good or bad, that's
hmm
not how debt works
It's
at
so true.
all.
I just want to
So
like get a chart out sometimes and just be like, here's how simple it is if someone just explains it to you. Because I
yeah,
can't tell if it's people being dumb or people not being taught.
I
Because
think
my
it's people
dad,
not being taught, to be
I know,
honest.
because my dad was a finance major, like that's his degree.
Mm-hmm.
So, like from childhood, I was being taught like financial stuff. And
Mm-hmm.
then I went to a high school that taught like, I think like a semester or half a semester worth of like personal finance. And I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
are those two things literally the only difference between me and people that are in lifelong debt? Like,
Yes, probably.
it's crazy. So,
I can think I had a really good education because
mhm,
I did public school when I was younger, but it was in like a pretty decent area, so the school was decent. And then
right.
I've done homeschooling on like public charter, early college program at a community college. I never took an econ class.
I know, it's crazy.
That's insane. I took one government class. That's also insane.
Hmm.
Like, so I cannot blame young people for not knowing anything. I've had to
Yeah.
learn so much just like post college years. I feel like I've learned a lot because I'm like going out there and trying
Yeah.
to actively learn. But we are not setting anyone up for success, and I'm afraid that it's intentional.
I
So,
know. It's like they teach all kind, not again, not to get political, but they teach other things. And you're like, really? We can't replace this with like a really useful, like universally useful skill.
yeah, it's so weird. I'm like, can we just
Yeah.
universal life skills just agree like,
Mhm.
okay, universal life skills are definitely yes. And then we can debate
Right.
the other stuff. And I don't care.
Exactly.
It's debatable. But
Yeah.
basic life skills should not be debatable.
Yeah. Like my
It's
parents always talk about how
horrifying.
like they had to take home ec or
Hmm.
I think like wood shop or whatever that was called. And I'm
Yeah.
like, what useful skills that people just had when they graduated high school.
They really are useful skills too. Because if you're
Yeah.
like, oh, well, I'm never gonna like, need to like do any kind of carpentry, that's not true. If anything
Hmm.
breaks around your house or your apartment, it is so empowering to be like, yeah, I
I
just
can
need to
just
grab
fix
like a
this.
saw and a drill and like I can fix a lot of this stuff myself.
Yep.
Like,
Like hanging stuff on the walls in the new house, like my mom is on top of it. So like my grandfather was really big into like carpentry and like wood
hmm,
shop. And so he taught her. And it's really
yeah,
funny because like normally the man is the one that's really good at it, but my mom is just like on top of it. She's
hmm,
like using levels and like
hmm,
she just knows all the tools. And my dad and I are
yeah.
just like just direct us. Like we don't know what to do.
Yeah. I I always thought that would be me too, because I grew up doing lots of like shop type stuff, just
Hmm.
because that's what we did in my family. So I feel like I have a pretty decent knowledge too. My husband is also really good at it though, and he cares more about doing things the right way. So
Yeah.
I know how to do it all. I just am a person who sometimes cuts corners when I'm like,
Sure.
who cares if it looks ugly as long as it works? And Hobby's like, but if you spend literally 5 more minutes, you can
Mm,
make it look
it can be
nice and it
perfect.
works. And I'm like, that's too
You're
much
like
effort.
5 minutes, man. That's a lifetime.
You know how much I could do with that 5 minutes? Like,
Oh my gosh.
yeah. But
But yeah.
anyways,
Yay
so if
for
anyone out
that.
here was like, what do Carissa and Ash think about what should be included in the school system? That's what we think.
That's one.
So
Yep.
I
Just
feel
bare
like most
minimum.
people would agree, but
Yeah.
it's too reasonable.
Yeah. It's everyone agrees on it so much that it doesn't happen because everyone thinks it's a given.
Yeah, that is, boy, is that real.
Yeah.
Man. So that's that. And I guess my final
Yep.
little update would be my job is insane. Again, feel very
Yeah.
lucky to have it. And I do love my job, which is why I'm
Hmm.
like very like feel like very like conflicted. It's because I actually really love what I'm doing. So if anyone is listening from work, hi, I probably like
Hmm.
you. There's only like two people at work that I find kind of challenging.
Yeah.
Um, but it's like a bunch of great people. We're doing really cool stuff. I really like my job. But whew, it has
A
been,
lot
we
of
had
work.
some layoffs, and so yeah, so I've been trying to like help with a bunch of people's stuff or stuff that was theirs, and now they're not here to do it, and it has been like 60 to 80 hours a week. Like it's
Yeah.
just it's a lot. But I
I
do
bet.
like it, and I am grateful that I have a job. I'm just really
Yeah.
hoping that like maybe like a promotion in my future that comes with a raise, because that would help with the whole
Yeah.
credit card thing. And that would also help
Yeah.
with like the building the house thing and just the,
Yeah. It'd
existing
be
in
a
a
great
world that's
time.
increasingly expensive thing.
Yeah.
So all
All the things.
of the things. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think that's pretty much
Well, cool.
everything. I will just a cute little aesthetic thing before we actually get into the things that are relevant to the listeners. Aren't you guys so excited? Don't you
Yeah. You've
miss
just been waiting
you just like
for
hurry
this.
up. Hurry. There's
Yeah.
skip notes, you guys. I know now it's really too late, but just so you know, there's always skip notes if you just want to get to like the meat of the episode. Although I kind of think our life updates are probably the most exciting
We are very
parts.
wise. So we give you a lot of good advice that's not writing related, you know?
Yeah, duh. That's just like a drop in the bucket of what we have to offer. But
Exactly.
speaking of a drop in the bucket, I just thought you guys might all find this cute. So our little should be condemned house. We do have a porch. It does have a bunch of holes in it, so we can't let children run around on it. But it's been very hot outside, so I put a
Mhm.
bucket of water on the porch, and I put my little naked baby in there because he is obsessed with the water, like
Ah,
obsessed with it. And so he just splash, splash, splash,
oh
blah,
my
blah, blah,
gosh.
blah, blah, splash. So he had like, so I let him play in there. And it was one of the few times I was like, okay, this is not bath time. This is strictly playtime. Because if he
Hmm.
could spend all day, every day in the water, he would. And
Oh my
so he was
gosh.
having such a good time. And there was water all over the porch. And it was just so cute. It was so sweet.
Oh, that's
So,
adorable. Okay, like tangential, really quick story. So all four of my cousins, in one family, they were all collegiate swimmers. So that
mhm.
like they were athletes and stuff. And so they loved the water and everything. And then my second oldest cousin, she married a guy that was also on the swim team at her college.
Oh my
Their
gosh.
son hates the water. I'm like, how is that even possible?
No.
So they're like trying to get him in the pool, and he's just like, I don't like it. And everyone's like, what do you mean? Like, your parents are like, one of them almost went to the Olympics level, like swimmers, and he's
That's
just not having
hilarious.
it. It's so funny.
I did always say, like when I was pregnant, I was like, Javi is a surfer and he's a diver. I'm, mermaid and a diver. And I was like, if
Hmm.
our kid does not like the water, we are so screwed.
You got the
But
water, baby.
whew, we got lucky. And it truly was like, it feels like luck of the draw. Like, I don't
Hmm.
know. He came out loving the water. Like,
Oh,
I feel so, again, so lucky. Very lucky over
yes.
here.
You're very
Anyways,
blessed. Keep that in
very,
mind.
very blessed. I try to. I try to. Oh, do you notice the shirt I'm wearing?
Yay! I gave that to her.
It is. It says in my DM era. There's also one that says in my thriller era, and these are currently my favorite shirts in the world. So every
Yay!
week they get washed because every week they get worn.
Yay! That's so exciting. I'm
Yeah, I
glad you
love
like
them
them. I
so
was
much.
it's so funny because I was most excited about the thriller one because you've been writing a thriller and you're like reading
Yeah,
them and I'm like,
yeah,
this is perfect. And I'm like, I don't know how long it'll last. So I have to get it for her now so that it's accurate. And then
yeah.
I just to get free shipping, I was like, okay, I'll get another one. And I picked DM and you like sent the picture of the DM one. You're like, I love this. I'm like, cool. I'm glad that worked out.
I do think the thriller one is like my favorite. However,
Mhm.
I also do love the DM and I also love the color of the DM one too.
Yes.
So they like
Hmm.
equal out and they're both my favorite. So very,
Oh,
very happy. Thank you. I wear them at night
yay.
and I wear them during the day. Like I literally
Perfect.
will get excited to put it on as a pajama shirt because I know I don't have
Yeah.
to change shirts during the day. Cause I'm
I
just
do
like,
love that.
yeah,
It's
loving
so
it.
fun.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh,
So more on topic. Do you have
yes.
any book recs that
Book
you want to
recs.
share?
Yes, finally. Now, if you guys recall, I have been in a tremendous book slump, and it's not quite over yet, but I feel it ending, which I don't know what that means. So I have not finished yet, but I started and am loving One for My Enemy by Olivia Blake. I think that's how you say her name or
Ooh.
whatever. So this is one I told you about. I was reading it at my cousin's wedding, and
Hmm.
it's like it's sort of like a Romeo and Juliet retelling, but very indirect. Like it's a very loose retelling.
Hmm.
Um, and it's very good so far. I think I'm like three-quarters of the way done, and I'm literally the only reason I haven't finished is because it's so good, and I'm like I almost don't want it to be over. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's been what I've been reading. But then I also read in like the nonfiction department, I read The Personal Heresy, which is by C.S. Lewis and Tilliard. I'm not going to remember his like whole name or whatever,
That
but
sounds
it was
familiar.
yeah, it was this series of essays that or letters that they sent back and forth about I don't know, basically like can you separate the art from the artist? Like does
Mm.
reading a poem say anything about the poet or is it about the reader's experience? And I loved like everything that it was so interesting. I found myself agreeing with both of them on various points. But the
Hmm.
thing that was most interesting, and again, I think this isn't really political. This is just something everyone knows the respect that they showed each other in total disagreement was just like
I love that.
eye-opening.
That
Like
makes me
they
so happy.
I know they would literally open the letters with like the only reason I'm responding to this is because I respect his opinion so much and I just want to clarify some of the things I said and I want to bring up some new points about what he said. And they were like, C.S. Lewis is such a worthy opponent to have. Like it's so like enjoyable to disagree
Yeah.
with you. And I'm like, man, the world has changed.
Oh,
So
that's
it
so
was
true.
it was very refreshing. So if you're
That's
looking for
amazing.
like debate that's not like heated and horrible,
Contentious.
yeah,
Yeah.
but like on a subject, I mean, it's not, a political subject to separate the art from the artist, but it's like people have very strong opinions. And
Yeah.
so I just like if you're looking for something to like calm down about and still have some interesting thoughts provoked, that is my recommendation.
Or if
So,
you're like, I want to have debates, but I just get frustrated and I don't know how to have them without getting into like a fight. Maybe this is something to read just to like take notes, like how they're
yep.
doing it. I love that. That's amazing.
I will say also, I wonder how much of it is because it was through letters and instead
You
of
have to
in
think it
person or through
out.
videos. Yes, you had
Mm,
time to write it out. So if you were angry, you could just be like, okay, I'm going to take a walk and then I'm going to come back and remember that I respect this person and that, you know, he brought up a good topic and now I know more about my own perspective and all that. So I don't
yep.
know if like we need to go back to letter writing, but it's not a totally ridiculous proposition.
I
So
think so. And well, the other thing about it too is that when you write a letter, you have time to like do research and think instead of just respond off the bat with like the first thing that
yes.
comes to mind or emotions. And I
Mhm.
think that we also have a thing where like we really need to like cite our sources. You know, like we
Yes.
really need to like research an issue before we develop a really strong immovable opinion on it. And I
Mhm.
think we're all guilty of not doing that every now and then because it's very
Yes.
instinctual to like your emotional response to assume that that's
Mhm.
the correct one. And it might be
Yep.
sometimes, but if you're going to debate someone about it, you
Mhm.
have to have more than that.
Yes,
So,
exactly. And it's really cool because they still had each like, you know, that mic drop moment of like,
mhm.
dang, what a good point. But it wasn't a disrespectful mic drop moment. It was more like, I have something to say, not I have a way to attack this person as a mic drop.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
it was very wonderful.
that's amazing. That sounds so
Yes.
refreshing.
So yeah,
I
The
love
Personal
that.
Heresy by C.S. Lewis
The
and
personal
something till you're
heresy. Nice. I like
yeah,
it. Cool.
yeah.
I also have a book rec because our sister podcast, That Pretentious Book Club. Can you hear that sound?
No, but
Okay.
it was kind of funny that you just looked behind yourself
Sorry.
as you announced it. The podcast
um,
is behind her.
it's right behind me. No, just if you guys hear, if I hear like a phone going off repeatedly, and
No.
I don't know where it's coming from, so just if you hear it, that's
My
what that
work
is.
computer is going on, so going off. So sorry about that too, if you
Oh
can
no,
hear
that's
it.
okay. I think mine is too. It's underneath this one and it's close,
Yep.
but I think it keeps making sounds. So
Mhm. I don't know why, but that's what's
me
happening. Anyway,
either.
go on.
Same. So our sister podcast, That Pretentious Book Club, woohoo! It is back
Woo.
in motion. It's been on hiatus for like over a year, largely thanks to me and my schedule. And we have a new co-host over there. Kendall Shaw,
Yay.
aka Dr. Spins Palermo, is still with us. But now we also have another one whose name is
Ooh.
Marissa, aka Gino Yoki, and she is delightful. She loves to read. Um, I feel like you've met her, but you haven't because you
I haven't.
haven't
She's
been
your
here.
mermaid friend, right?
She's my mermaid friend.
Okay,
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And she is a delight. She's very witty. She reads a lot. She epic, like high fantasy is her favorite.
Oh,
So,
yes.
yeah, I know. I thought you would like that.
She's so cool. Also, her name is spelled, is it M-Y-R?
Yes.
ISSA? So she's just like the coolest person ever. Like,
Yeah,
it's
right?
amazing.
I know, right? It's really good. So so now we have three co-hosts, which is great because like if
Yes.
Kendall's not available, I can bounce over to Marissa and vice versa. So it's nice and we might be able to actually get some more stuff read and posted. And the first book that we did
Perfect.
for her inaugural episode with TPBC was on Chaos and Flame by Tessa Grattan and Justina Ireland.
Oh, cool.
I had mixed feelings going into it because I sometimes like I think we've discussed it before. Sometimes books that are written by two authors
Mm.
are
Iffy.
not iffy. They're not what I want them to
Mhm.
be.
Yeah.
And this was written from two different perspectives too. And actually was pretty good. I think I gave it like a
Ah.
3.8 or something, which is actually pretty high. Um, there were some craft problems, which is actually what inspired my theme for this episode that we'll get
It's
into,
great.
where I was like, if it didn't have these problems, I would have said it's absolutely amazing. As it was, I was like, it was good. I might read it again because if I've said before on this podcast, we have a rating from 1 to 5 pinkies up over at
Mhm.
TPVC, and typically if I give it 4, that's like, yeah, I'll probably read it again. Anything below that is like, it's unlikely. I get 3.8 because I was like, yeah, I would definitely recommend it to some people. I might read it again. Like I did enjoy it. But like when you
Mhm.
think about it, there were like some really like glaring like craft things where I was like it just could have been done without basically. Like if
Yeah.
these like 4 or 5 elements had just been removed, it probably would have been
It
like
would be
a 4.5
perfect.
or something. Like it really would,
Right.
and it had some stuff in it that I don't typically like.
Mhm.
So I mean, that was also like quite notable. So Anyways, I do recommend that if you guys like young adult. I would say it's on the border between young adult and new adult fantasy. It is probably more skewed young adult. There is Beware. There's a baby spice. Well, there's some baby spice. There is a quote unquote sex scene. It's not graphic and they don't describe anything, which is a relief. But if you're out there trying to decide like what to read or what you're comfortable with
Yeah.
your kiddos reading, just so you know. But it was good. I liked it. It actually even had one of the authors identifies as queer, and there was actually a couple different queer characters in it. And I will say they felt like a teeny bit of pandering, but I'm also probably kind of sensitive to that because so much
Yeah.
is, but also it was really good. So like actually a lot of it was
Cool.
like decently done, actually felt like that's legitimately like who the characters are, not like, oh, we just did this to,
I shoehorned this in. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. It didn't feel shoehorned in. So
Right.
that's what I going into it was like, I bet I'm gonna have a problem with it because often it feels shoehorned in, and anything shoehorned in, I have a problem
It's
with. I
annoying.
don't care what it is. But actually felt like very well woven into the story. So that's actually
Cool.
been one of the things that I have to be like, the craft. It was other things. But yeah, it was good. So Chaos and Flame, I think it's the first in a duology, and it has like different houses instead of like kingdoms. So there's like House Sphinx, House Kraken, House Dragon, House Griffin. So
Nice.
like it's got that kind of thing going
Mythological
on.
creatures.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. So it's got a lot of mythological creatures and stuff. It's got its own like magic system. I enjoyed it. It was enjoyable.
Cool.
I gave it 3.8 or 3.85 pinkies up. So worth the read probably once at least. So
Nice.
I will be referring to it more in this episode.
Yeah, just like a little bit.
Yeah, just like a little bit. Yeah.
Okay, real fast. I didn't, so I cut out there for a second. It didn't stop recording, right?
No,
Okay,
did not.
cool. Just wanted to make
I
sure.
did see you disappear. I was like, she'll come back. They always come back.
I plugged my power cord in, and I did not expect it to just like randomly disconnect me for a second. So sorry.
No, you're good. It's still recording. We're totally good.
All right, cool.
Do you have a word of the week?
I do. Back to this. I've missed it. Okay. The word is Aglifft. Aglifft, which is cool. There's just like two F's sitting there together. And it means frightened or alarmed, which I think is fun.
Wait, what was it?
Aglifft.
Aglifft?
Aglifft. Yes.
Can you spell it for me one more time?
Oh, yes. Aglifft.
Interesting.
Aglifft. So yeah. So like
at first I thought it was like and then glyph, like a glyph.
Right.
But no.
Nope.
Aglifft.
It's like if you hear a sudden noise in the middle of the night, you may feel aglifft.
Aglifft.
Yeah.
How agliftful instead of like how frightful.
Yes. Yeah, we need to replace that.
Yeah. Aglifft.
Aglifft.
Interesting.
It sounds kind of like cliff. So like think about how you would feel if you were nearly pushed off a cliff. Yeah.
Wow. I like that. That's a good way to remember it. Yeah, it's not extreme at all. I felt aglift upon investigating the current state of the American public school system.
Yes.
Ooh.
Bringing it back in.
Yeah, it's really a glifty.
Oh, yes.
Totally a gliftful.
Oh, man.
I like it.
A gliftish. Yes.
A gliftish. Yes. Ooh, that's good.
I feel a gliftish.
A gliftish. That's what I'm gonna. I was gonna say we need to bring this word back, but I actually specifically want to bring the word a gliftish. I want to coin it, and I think that that's the one we should use. A glyph is fine, but a gliftish. Like
next
that
level.
haunted house was really scary, right? I don't know. I think it was just kind of a gliftish.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like that meme with the head that it's like getting gradually more and more blown. You know what I mean? Like a glyph and then a glyftish.
Oh my God, it so is. A glyph, a glyftful. A glyftish. Oh, that's so funny.
Perfect. If I knew how to make a meme, I would do that one.
That is my process every episode with the word of the week.
Yep. Just gradually. How far can I go without going too far, says Ash.
Yeah. Says Ash. It's true. It is exactly what says Ash. All right. Well, do you want to get into our theme for the episode?
Yes. As we said, this is kind of Ash's idea. So basically, we're going to be talking about how to know what to cut, what's like not necessary to keep in the story, and how to, tell that apart from essential elements, I
Yes.
guess.
Yep,
Yes.
that is correct. And I will preface and say I thought of this topic when I was reading Chaos. Actually, not when I was reading Chaos and Flame. After I had read it, when I was discussing it with Gino on That Pretentious Book Club. Because she brought up like something that she had noticed that was like, I don't really know if that needed to be included. And then I was like, and I saw this other thing that I didn't really think needed to be included. So like by the end of it, even though we both really enjoyed the book, we were like, there were a few things that just did not need to be in there. So spoilers for Chaos and Flame. For example, one of the characters has a tracking boon. And so they're like, a boon is like a magical gift. And so he's able to be like really good at like tracking things and hunting things. It only like really was useful once in the whole book.
Right.
So, and not everyone has a boon. So he could have just not had one. And it would have basically been the same. And then another thing was that she was given a pot of poison lipstick. That could have played such an integral part. It literally wasn't even referred to again until the very end, when one character somehow was like, I found this pot of poison lipstick. And not only were Gino and I both like, how okay, so it finally came back. I was thinking it wasn't going to come back at all. But also, how does he know that it's poison?
Oh,
like there was no explanation for that regardless. But we were both like, it really didn't something else. It was like these were being used as plot devices, but they were not integral to the story. They did not need to be included more than once. If you guys are watching on YouTube, that's my husband back there.
His face is appearing magically.
His face appearing magically. Also, do you like my new background if you're watching on YouTube?
Love it.
I created this so that you guys can't see the messy room behind me. And it's maybe not quite as distracting as like the virtual background wall of books. So anyways, and it's got our colors and our logo and our production studio logo and all the little podcast signs because this is a podcast. So
it's perfect.
Very, very proud of it. Anyways, so I think there was like, oh yeah, and then what was it? There was one other thing that also was like really notably did not need to be included. I will say there was mentions of blood magic, like it was this big, scary, Aglifft-ish thing. And I'd like look at the word again. I already forgot what it was. And then it did come back into importance at the end, but it was only mentioned once in the whole book. So I had to be like, oh, right, blood magic exists. Like, so it was just for a book that was so enjoyable, that had so many elements that I usually have like just a much higher standard for, and I'm usually a lot more critical of. I really, really enjoyed it. But then there were a few things, and shockingly, the things that bothered me were these elements of the story that were all plot device, and that was it. And also a plot device that was only used once, maybe twice in the whole book. So it just made me think, going back through it, this is probably something that we've all done. And I think unless you like practice learning how to identify it, it's really easy to just let these things slide. I mean, this is a decent book that went all the way through publication, 2 New York Times best-selling authors, and they didn't have an editor who was like, hey, these like 3 or 4 or 5 things, they just don't, can we just write this in a way that doesn't require them? Because it's actually just like, it feels messy. It feels messy, and it makes it feel more amateur than it is. So I thought we would talk about that and how to like identify what those things are, because I think that they're a natural part of writing, because they like help you get from one plot point to the next. Sometimes you need something to get you there. But then when you're going back and editing, you need to be able to identify those somehow and decide, is this worth keeping, or is this just exclusively a plot device? And if so, what else can I use instead?
Yes, exactly. I think too, it's like there are 2 problems there that I think are becoming really common. One is the idea of 2 New York Times bestselling authors. I think sometimes publishers stop giving the right amount of constructive criticism once you've become successful. This is my biggest issue with Cassandra Clare, whose books I otherwise really enjoy. When I read, oh no, what's the title? Lady Midnight, which is her 3rd series, I think, the first book. Like the first 50 pages just did not feel relevant at all. It's like it was basically just gearing up for a bigger introduction of other characters. Like she wanted them to not be there for a while so that you already have expectations for them when they get there, but like there really was no reason to do that. And it did just feel like almost like I'm trying to pad the page count because all of my
Yeah.
other books are really long.
Yeah.
And it just didn't feel necessary. And so I do think a lot of authors, once they get established, which hopefully is a problem we will all face,
Right?
I think sometimes editors and publishers just stop giving the same kind of critical eye to it. And so
Yeah.
then these issues don't get caught. And so it is
Yeah.
like important to think about it yourself.
Yeah. And that's
Then the
what this
second
felt
issue,
like. It felt like a
yeah.
stealth kind of issue because
Hmm.
also, unless you have someone like, it's not something that's technically incorrect. So unless you have
Right.
somebody like trying to really read it critically, you're not
Hmm.
going to find it. It's not that it's incorrect to do that. It's just that I don't think it's the best craft choice.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I do think second point that it's really common in like first books in series, which is why it's kind of strange to me that so many YA authors start with series. It's like you would think a debut would need to be like a standalone.
Yeah.
But I don't know the percentage, but it certainly seems like more than 50% of YA authors start out with a series.
Yeah.
And it's almost like I feel like you need to prove that you can carry out the whole story first before like we throw you out there with, more than one
Yeah.
book in this world. Because I think sometimes people have trouble like deciding how do I foreshadow things that are going to come later in the series? Like
Hmm.
probably, the blood magic thing or something like that is intended to be a bigger deal later. And
Yeah.
then they kind of try to make it relevant to the first book, but it's not. And so it's
Yeah.
just like they end up putting more focus on something that's happening later than they should and not enough focus on like building up to reasonable reveals. And so it's just kind of hard because like obviously series are it's more plot, it's more story to handle. And so
Yeah.
sometimes it's just not as readily like noticeable, especially if you as the author, like, well, I know this is going to come back into play in book 2 or 3 or 4.
Yeah. So
And
you're
so
like,
you know
it's not
it's
only
important.
used once. Yeah. You're
Yeah.
like, it's going to be mentioned several times. So if it's in the book, I guess that's like a good
Hmm.
point. We're not talking like across the series. You need to assume that
Hmm.
any book, whether someone picks up the first book in your series or the second book in your series or even the third, like
Yep.
if a element is only mentioned or used once in the book, it's being used too few times. Get rid of it.
Hmm. Yes.
Yeah.
I think that's true. I think definitely like if you're going to bring something into the climax at the end, it needs to be mentioned multiple times. But if it's not going to be relevant to anything going on, then I do think you can mention it in like really a small way. So like this is my example. In the Harry Potter series, Luna Lovegood first appears in book 5, I believe, right? Order of the Phoenix. So when she like gets introduced to Harry and all that stuff. But her name is actually mentioned, I think, in book 4.
Hmm.
There's a point when I think when they're going to the Triwizard tournament, someone says, "Are the Love Goods coming?" or something like that.
Hmm.
So she's established as like, when you get there, if you've been paying attention, you're like, "Oh, that's who they were talking about." But at
Yeah.
the time it was said in book 4, it's not like this big, like, let's explain who Luna Lovegood is so that when she shows up in book 5, we all know already who this person is.
Yeah.
And so I think like really small mentions that are otherwise kind of background that can kind of
Yeah.
be ignored, I guess. Like
Yeah.
if ignoring it still serves the story, then I think that's a
Hmm.
good place to be. You don't want it to be a necessary element, but I do think you
Yeah.
can kind of hint at it.
Yeah.
If
You
it's
can
like in a
mention
list of
it
names or
as part
yeah.
of like the background for the story, not as a
Yes.
plot device. Like you don't want to use it, but you can
Hmm.
include it, but it shouldn't be
Right.
used for anything.
Yeah. It's not like Luna Lovegood shows up in the, graveyard at the end of book 4 and is like a really important person that we only
Yeah.
heard mentioned once, right? It's
Yeah.
just a little tiny little introduction to people that will be important later on. So I think that's a good
Yes.
example of how to do something slight. But
Hmm.
then if it, I there is a certain argument here that like let's say that something's going to be plot relevant later on in the series. In order to explain it, especially if it's a little more complicated, you want to give people like readers that foundation to understand it. You can make
Hmm.
it relevant to like a character arc, right? So
Yeah.
like I don't know, the Boone thing, right? Maybe that's going to become important later on, like I don't
Hmm.
know, for some reason in the second book, but
Yeah.
then you need to make it a character trait that's constantly coming up, even if it's just like this person is constantly being annoying in this way or being annoyed by this
Yeah.
power that they have that no one else has.
Yeah.
Just to make it feel relevant, and then it'll
Hmm.
feel much more like a twist when it becomes plot relevant or vice
Yes.
versa or something like that.
Yes.
So
Specifically for the tracking boon, that feels like exactly what Lee Bardugo did in Shadow and
yes.
Bone. Because
Oh, she did that so
spoilers,
well.
she did it
Hmm.
amazing. Mal has a tracking gift, basically.
Hmm.
And amazing. This whole time we just thought he was really good at his job.
Yeah.
The
And
army
because
was
it
like,
kept
we're going to
coming
use him as a
up.
tracker. It just kept coming
Yes.
up. And they're like, we're going to use him to hunt for these mythical creatures because he's so good at that.
Mm-hmm. That's
And
why
then,
the Darkling like kind of kidnaps him. It's why
yeah,
like he's involved.
but you don't see how useful it is until like the
Mm-hmm.
very end of the last book where you're like,
Yep.
oh, it all makes sense now. But it
Yep.
was being used as a plot device, but because it wasn't just used once or twice,
Mm-hmm.
it actually felt like it wasn't just a plot device. And it
Yeah.
was a
It
part
felt
of
like
who he was.
it was an aha moment, not a like, wait, what happened?
Yeah, exactly.
So, mhm.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's one way to tell. Like, or I
Yes.
rather, if you think something might just be used as a plot device, try and make it essential to like someone's character
Yes.
and make it affect the way that they are and the way that they have been. Tie it to
Mm-hmm.
their history a little bit somehow.
Yep.
And also, the lighter the touch, the better if it's not going to be relevant until another book. Like,
Yes.
don't use it as a plot device in the first book or whatever book you're in if it's not going to be a plot device until the next
Yeah.
book. Like, you can mention it as like
Mm-hmm.
exposition, like background
Yeah.
info, but not like a plot device.
Yeah,
So,
because then it's also going to feel redundant when you try to use it as a plot device later when you really intended for it to be
yeah,
important. You don't want it to be like, okay, well, every book just seems to end the same in the series. It'll feel a little more distinct. So
yeah, yeah, exactly.
I
It's
think
true.
yeah, I think another like I think this is a good example of how this can be done is the Mortal Instrument series, which is a Cassandra Clare series, her first one. Spoilers for this if you haven't read it. And I know Ash hasn't, but
It's all
um
good. I'll forget.
there's like basically there are 6 books, but they're split into like 2 trilogies, and the villain for the 2 is different. And the villain for the second one is set up in the first in what I think is a really natural way.
Mhm.
He's kind of the fact basically it's the son of the major villain from the first, and it's set up that he has a son, but he's said to have died, right? And so just the way
Mhm.
that the story in the first trilogy kind of unfolds, you're realizing, okay, wait, but if this son did exist, then this doesn't make sense. There's like confused identities. And so you can kind of catch on to what's going on earlier if you're paying attention. But by the time it's revealed that, like, okay, the son is going to come back and he's going to be a major villain because of everything that happened in the first trilogy, it was that kind of light touch. Like it's just in the
Mhm.
background. This person exists, but they're not really being mentioned. So that it feels very natural when like original villain gets destroyed and then son takes his place.
Yeah.
So it's not just like the sun popped out of nowhere in book 4 or
Yeah.
like he was constantly being mentioned so that you think he's going to be a villain in the first series.
Yeah.
So just a
I
good balance
agree.
there, I think.
And I think sometimes, right, we've been basically like mostly discussing like when something is used as a plot device just because somebody wants to mention it because it becomes relevant later. But I think
Mm-hmm.
there's also times that we see things that are included as plot devices that don't need to be there at all. And
Yeah.
what that might mean is either you don't need a plot device, the actions feel like they would still occur basically the same without it, and you can just take it out altogether, or it feels like the wrong plot device.
Mm-hmm.
So if you go back and you're like, oh, I remember this notable thing. Where did it start? Where did it end up? How many times did I see it? Again, if you only see it once or twice, maybe it's not the right plot device because it feels like something that you forced into the story. There's
Mm-hmm.
probably already things that are in motion that you can spin off of to
Right.
enact whatever it is you were using the plot device for. Like, I'm trying to think of an example from Chaos and Flame. Like
Mm-hmm.
the poison lipstick. Basically, the reason that it becomes relevant at the end is because at the very end, after she's like bonded with Talon, who is like the war prince, his brother is like sort of the king of House Dragon, basically. And Talon's buddy shows up and they're all trying to find the main character who she's missing. She's missing with his brother. And so they're like, Talon, she's trying to kill him. We told you she was a traitor
Mm-hmm.
all along. Look, we found this poison lipstick.
Right.
So it's like used as this piece of evidence to show
Mm-hmm.
that she's trying to kill him, which
Right.
is, first of all, not true. Second of all, I have questions like how they know it was poisonous. Like, were they playing
Yeah.
dress up and he kissed someone wearing the lipstick? Like, how? I don't understand how we just look at it and know.
Right.
And Gina brought up a good point, which is how is it poisonous where like you put it on and you don't get poisoned, but if you kiss
Yeah.
someone, they get poisoned. So, you know, I
Yeah.
got a lot of
Details.
questions about that plot device specifically, but even if
Mm-hmm.
I didn't have those questions and thought it was totally logical that it was only brought up that one time, is like we could have done something else. She's really into
Mm-hmm.
knives. She's like really good at fighting, right? So I'm
Hmm.
like, "Oh, can we do something else? Maybe when
Yeah.
she first came over and she was still actively like, maybe I need to kill these guys. Maybe she set some like plan in motion. Maybe she was like, hey, friend of mine, I'm going to try and get to this point, and as soon as we get him here, you can come in and assassinate him, you know? And
Hmm.
so maybe they catch the guy who she sent in, and the only way he could have gotten in is if she gave him the instructions, right?
Right.
Something like that, that feels like it has more to do with who she is and where she came from.
Yeah.
Not like this random pot of lipstick is poisonous. Don't you see she's betrayed you?
Right.
Like,
Like, so a really good spoilers for Shadows Between Us, I think, by Trisha Levenseller. She does this really well. So the main character basically originally intends to kill the person that she ends up falling in love with, and then she decides
mhm,
not to, but she hasn't gotten rid of like the poison yet. So they use that at the end as like this,
mhm,
aha, she was trying to kill you kind of thing. And it was mentioned so often because that's so much a part of her character motivation, is that that's how
mhm.
she starts out, like that's how she wants things to end. She wants him dead. And then that
Yeah.
changes. So it feels really natural. Like you see it coming. You're like, man, just get rid of the poison. They're going to find it. And then it's going to
Oh,
turn into this big thing. So there's like tension there too, because it's being brought up like a good amount of time because it really does
yeah.
feed into her character
Yeah.
motivation. And
Yeah.
also, like, I can't remember if it's in the book, but in the movie, Ella Enchanted, right? Like she doesn't
Right.
want to kill him, but she's basically she's ordered to and she has to obey. And so she's like fighting and fighting it. So when they catch her, she has the knife in her hand. And even he
Mhm.
thinks like you must have been trying to kill me, but like it wasn't her motive. It was,
Yeah.
this spell over her and stuff.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
and of course the fact that Ella has to obey everything she is told is an enormous piece of her character and the plot. So
Yeah.
it all just kind of feeds into it. It feels very natural. And you do feel that tension because like, man, this has got to turn into something really nefarious at some point. And so
Yeah.
you're interested, you're feeling that, again, tension, and then it feels very natural when it happens. So there are ways to do that. And I think a lot of it does come down to making it a part of the person's character. Like you said, like I don't know why she had the poison lipstick, but if it was like a part of her culture that like everyone just walked around with this, or if it was something she made and sold and she just happened to
Yeah.
have one on her that they can use against her or whatever, that would
Yeah.
make more sense. And then you would
Yeah.
just mention it as like, yeah, by trade, this is what I do, or this is something that
Yeah.
my mother taught me how to do, and that's a
Exactly.
personal thing they share. Like you can
Mhm.
build it into something meaningful
Yeah.
so that at the end it makes a lot of sense and the readers can feel like, oh man, this is being so twisted. I know what's going on. She knows what's going on, but maybe like
Yeah.
these other characters or even the love interest don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Exactly. Like, there's just so many things that could have done that were more relevant to her character.
Hmm.
The way that she ended up basically in proximity to the House Dragon princes, who her allies want her to kill, is
Hmm.
because she was basically captured, not because she was a seductress trying to infiltrate in order to kill them. And
Right.
that is the kind of character arc you would expect for someone who has a poison lipstick that is actually important to their character in some way.
Right.
For her, it's like totally different, and she's never been that kind of person before, so her like
Hmm.
buddy basically sneaks in and gives it to her, and it's like, make them kiss you, and it's like, it didn't feel relevant to her character either. So maybe when you're like going back and again, there's absolutely no shame in using whatever plot devices you want when you're first
Hmm.
writing the story. It's what
Uh-huh.
keeps your momentum going so you can get from
Right.
one plot point to the next. It's just understandable, but you can't just leave them that way, which is kind of how Chaos and Flame felt. It felt like nobody went back through and was like, okay, what's something better we can use to accomplish
Yeah.
this? And I
Um,
think just, sorry, go ahead.
no, do you want to finish your point? Because I'm going to bounce off what you just said.
Oh, sure. I was going to bounce off something that you previously said, which is if you're
Oh.
looking for something to, use instead of that plot point, consider your characters, consider
Mhm.
their background, consider where they came from, what they're familiar with, what is important to them. And if there is anything that's already in motion in their life that could somehow we can just tip it a little bit and roll it in the direction of the next plot point that you're trying to get to. Anything at all. Don't
Yep.
just put something in and leave it there, even though it
Yep.
doesn't quite fit, because it's like jamming the wrong puzzle piece in. Sometimes
Yeah.
you can make it fit, but
Right.
it doesn't fit correctly.
Yeah.
And
Something
it's
feels
like
off.
something's a little off there. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. So what I was going to say is, I think the culprit behind this, I think you're kind of like dancing around it, but it's usually writer's block for me
Yeah.
when I'm trying to figure out like how do I keep going? Like, I know what's going to happen, but I don't know how to get there. And so you kind of just come up with something and you put it in
Mm-hmm.
there and it gets you past that point. So then you can keep up with like the inspiration and the momentum and everything.
Yeah.
But then if you don't go back and realize like, okay, this was for me. This was a fix for me. How can I cut it basically? Like, so
Yep.
the book I'm working on right now, I hit a pretty big like writer's block thing where I'm like, I know where people need to get, but I don't know how to get them there. I
Mm-hmm.
literally just had the main character walk around for a while. Like she was just wandering around thinking things, and I would bring people in to like say things to her to see if that would spark something. I'm not
Mm-hmm.
keeping that in. Like it's not
No.
relevant for her to talk to like the baker in the final draft. Like,
Yeah.
it was just a way for me to work through that issue. But it
Yeah.
can become really easy to like write a really good line of dialogue when you're doing that, or a really
Mm-hmm.
good transition. And then you feel like, oh, this is so good. I need to keep this in there. So then you keep the plot device that doesn't work.
Yep.
And like, I think we've said this before, just take that line and put it in a document and keep it and save it for later.
Yeah.
But like, it's got to go from the original draft,
Yeah.
because it's just not going to be helpful. And that's the kind of stuff. I think for me at least, transitions are usually where I find I have to cut things.
Yeah.
People can be too detailed, like you'll describe, the entire journey from point A to point B when you really just need to say, and then they were at point B.
Yeah.
You can use page breaks to get there, or something like that. But I think writer's
Yeah.
block is usually the culprit of that. So if you, I don't know, keep notes on or remember the points at which you had writer's block in writing the book, you're probably going to be able to go back to those points and realize, okay, here's where I need to kind of focus on cutting. And if you
Yeah.
find yourself writing or editing and you edit multiple times and you find that it's the same scene that kind of keeps catching you and you have to rework and revamp, it might just be better to cut it out. I guess it would be
Yeah.
like, I would call it the middleman. Sometimes as writers, we want to over explain how people get from point A to point B, but
Yeah.
we can just cut it out. Like people don't care if they
Yeah.
took a train. Like people don't
Yeah.
care if there was, you don't have to come up with this super unique magical thing for this one moment to
Yeah.
explain how they got there. Just, manipulate the world a little bit, put the locations closer together, space out the timeline. Like there are other ways to do that more
Yeah.
naturally. And so the places where you're transitioning and the places where you are finding yourself having to go back and edit the most are probably the places where you can cut.
Yeah.
So,
I think that's true. I think it's a good idea to keep like a list at the end of your document that's anytime that you hit writer's block and then you kind of put in how you solved it. Anytime that you're like, okay, I'm going to go back and fix this later. Like if you're going to change a character's name, even if you think that you've
mm,
like find all and already replaced it, still like include that in there. Include things that you're like, okay, I know I'm going to have to go back and rework this chapter. Like anything that you recall while you're working that you're like, this is something I need to go back and pay attention to again. Create like a
mhm.
checklist at the end of your document so that when you're done, your first go through for quote unquote editing is just going through that list real quick. Some of it will
Yeah.
just be like taking out a word here or there. Some of it could be taking out a whole chapter. Some of it could just be making sure that find all replace really worked. Like,
Yeah.
and specifically, if you're going to note the places or at least note if when you can tell that you're using something as a plot device to get you to the next point, write that down and then go back and see, does this fit? Does this tell me something about the character? Does this serve any kind of purpose other than
Hmm.
a plot device to get me from here to there?
Yep.
Because if the answer is no, it doesn't, it needs to go.
Yeah. Again,
Yeah.
so I think my best example of this is in Lady Midnight, that it starts out with if you guys know anything about the families, there's the Blackthorn family and they're away, right? And so it's the main
Mm-hmm.
character just kind of going about her life. It's like they didn't need to start away. They could have started there and there could have been an action scene where you introduce them basically the same way you ended up introducing them, but you spent
Mm-hmm.
all, like, I would call it middleman space, like all this
Yeah.
space introducing them when they're not even there.
Yeah.
And so that plot device of having them far away just for them to come home, I don't really think was necessary.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. And
yeah.
I think you can also look to like if your character, there's nothing in the character that's giving you what you need, the material to be a plot device. Remember, there are other characters in your story who have
Yeah.
free will. Like,
Hmm.
for example, in Chaos and Flame, a different way that they could have accomplished this basically convincing Talon at the very end, at the critical moment that the main character is not trustworthy after all and is trying to kill his brother. His best friend, who he's known his whole life, basically, is the one who found the lipstick and he has hated the main character the whole time. He literally could have just decided to lie to him to
Yeah.
protect
He
him.
could have framed her.
He could
Yeah.
have framed her. Like there's so many things. Like there's other people. There's his aunt who hates her. Like there's other people involved. There's her former ally turned enemy. Like
Mm-hmm.
there are a lot of other people in the story.
Yeah.
So if you can't find what you need to get your character to where they're going or to make something happen in your character's own story of what's going on and who they are and their background, look at the other characters and
Yeah.
see, is there anything in any of their stories that can? Because there is. There is.
That is a really good point, because I feel like when we're trying to fix things in the book, it feels like it needs to be a world building detail or the main character making a decision, maybe even
Mhm.
like a love interest or a really close secondary character.
Yeah.
But you can have even maybe distant background characters. You want to still like
Mhm.
build up that personality trait. So like you said, if he's really protective and he really doesn't trust this main character, it would make sense to find out that he's framed her at the end.
Yeah.
You wouldn't necessarily need to build that in, show that he has poison lipstick or anything like that. It could just be
No.
like they're at a market and he disappears for a few minutes and then he frames her. Or
Yeah.
he's been constantly talking about how untrustworthy she is and how he's going to prove it. And so then it turns into a framing thing.
Yeah.
So you do want to build up the character trait that would cause a character to do that, but it doesn't have to be excessive. And
Yeah.
like, yeah, we do forget that like side characters and
Yeah.
background characters also have motivations
They
and
do. And it'd be great to
wants.
say that, like, we all control our own fate. And to a degree, we do have all free will, but so
Mhm.
does everyone else. And this is what I try and
Mhm.
tell people when it comes to like driving under the influence. I've had people be like, no, I'm still a really good driver, even if I've had a few drinks. And I'm like, that could be true. I'm not saying that's not
Mhm.
possible, but other people are still bad drivers. Even
Yep.
sober, other people are bad
You got to
drivers.
react to them.
Exactly. So I'm like, you're
Yeah.
never on the road alone, which is why I'm
Mhm.
trying. This is like, I constantly think about this. You are never out there alone. You
Mhm.
can do your very best, and people do their very best, and they still get screwed over because other
Yep.
people are making choices. So
Yep.
that happens in books too. And I definitely personally have a tendency to be like, everything, all of the motivation, all of the like plot momentum has to come from my main character.
Mhm.
Has to. It doesn't though, because other
Right.
people make decisions that affect us. If you've ever had a coworker who has done something that made your life more complicated, you know for a fact that
It does affect you.
it really does affect you.
Mhm.
So that's a great place to look for plot devices because that's
Yep.
something that's never going to feel like a stretch to
Mhm.
say that another character did a thing or said a thing and it caused something else to happen outside of the main character's control.
Yeah. We all know that
And
happens.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I do think you have to beware it feeling like a plot device if you've given no detail on your background characters or your side
Right.
characters, and then all of a sudden, like it's a Deus
They
Ex
pop
Machina
up.
thing. Yeah, they just pop
Mhm.
up and do a thing. So you do need to include them, but it could literally be something, it could be someone who's already in the story and you just add in a few more details. Like you were saying for Finn, Talon's like bodyguard best friend buddy. They could have just added like two scenes, like two really
Mhm.
short little scenes. Like he disappears or
Mhm.
he like says something like, well, if Talon's not going to take care of himself, I'm going to take care of him. You know, like
Right.
literally that's all it would take is like two more sort of like appearances that indicate what's going on in Finn's head.
Yep.
And then I would have totally believed that he framed her. Like
Mhm.
it doesn't have to take a ton of space. The idea is not to add more filler in. It's
Yeah.
to be concise and get from one point to another, but not so concise that it's clear that you just like fit in the wrong puzzle
Yeah.
piece. Like,
Right. Well, and it
yeah.
also, like, again, I haven't read that book, but it would probably create more tension to know that, like, someone is actively working against her. So he
Yeah.
knows that he's framing her. So it's going to be a lot more difficult for her to convince him that she's not lying, right? Like, I could
Yeah.
totally see, like, book two opening up with, like, her just being like, no, 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 this is my explanation. This is why I have it. And everyone being like, oh, okay, misunderstanding. And now all the tension's gone. But if
Yeah.
there's someone there specifically working against her, that's not going to go away right away. So it
Yeah.
creates more tension too, I would
Yeah.
think.
It's true. And it gives you it's the spin-off of in like
Mhm.
more like potential plot momentum and plot devices that make
Yeah.
sense. Like there's just so much more when it's because you have another actor making decisions because they're like you can also be like, well, you made this one unpredictable decision, what else are you going to do? Like are
Yeah.
you on the same side now, are you still trying to undermine her? Like what's going
Mhm.
on? Do you regret your actions? Can we believe that? There's just so many more options that make so much more sense
Yeah.
than like and poison lipstick that has nothing to do with her character or her background
Right.
and also makes no sense.
Yeah,
because
and
why
how
would
did it
she
get
not
here?
die? And how did it get here? And how did he know it was poisonous also? Which is a
Yeah.
different problem, but
Hmm.
I feel that the editor should have caught this.
I know. I think sometimes, like, as a writer, you do just like, you find the answer that works and you don't think about it very hard. And so
Yeah.
then someone else points out like a really obvious, like, but wait, how would the lipstick kill him and not her? And you're like,
Yes.
oh, interesting. Like, you would have to make her
Yes.
immune to poison, maybe, so it doesn't, come
Yes.
up, or some kind of like, it only works
Mm-hmm.
on men, or it only works on people with disability, or something
Yep.
like that.
Yep.
But, what do
That's
I know?
so true. No, and I think that's part of why this has been like haunting me so much, and I
Yeah.
wanted to talk about it, is because this is not like a, oh, only amateurs do this. Only people who
Mm,
are lazy in their editing do this. This is
no.
something that we all do. And then
Yeah.
even when we go back and we try to find the plot devices that we used for writer's block to get out of it and get rid of them, there's still things that we're not going to see because we created it. And in
Yep.
our head, it makes sense. Or you're like,
Yeah.
okay, check the box and move on. And that's why it's been like bothering me so badly, because
Yeah.
these were all the kind of things that I was like, most of these I would probably not catch in my own book.
Right.
I really hope an editor would catch it, but I don't know that all
Hmm.
editors are looking for that, which is probably also means like, if you're thinking of hiring an editor, or you're thinking of even just
Yeah.
having like a friend look over your book, be like, hey, and by the way, I want you to specifically look for things that feel like they only come up once or twice, or like
Right.
something that seems like it's, relevant just once as a plot device, but it doesn't really have any relevance anywhere else. Like, specifically ask people to look for that. And I have never asked for that before because I never really noticed it before. And then
Hmm.
I read Chaos and Flame and talked to Gino about it. And all of a sudden I was like, oh my God. Oh
Yeah.
my God. I
How did
feel
I miss
so
this?
sure this has happened. I feel so
Yeah.
sure I have books that I think are perfect that have that kind of thing.
Hmm.
So, very stressful. I think being
Yeah.
aware of it is like step one. I think step two is probably like reading other books and trying to, like, with a critical eye, identify those things, like in the books that
Yeah.
we read and enjoy. Because a lot of books that are totally good, like, I still recommend that book to people,
Hmm.
have those things in it. And like you were saying, like Cassandra Clare, very, very talented, has that too. So I think learning to identify it for ourselves is like step two. So be aware, practice identifying what those look like. And then in your own writing, practice changing them out, practice switching out that plot point for something else that makes more sense. And part of
Yeah.
that is ask people who you're having look at your writing to
Yeah.
look for that specifically. Because you'll always need, even if you're a pro at the first two steps, you'll still need someone else to look at it.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's
So
why you need
that's,
other eyes. Like, that's the
yeah.
purpose. Like, editors do edit for things like grammar and
Mm-hmm.
like basic things, but part of their job is also just to make sure that, details like that make sense. It's like
Yeah.
a whole picture editor.
Yeah. That's kind of like something like that should happen in a developmental edit, I feel like.
Yeah.
But even good editors might miss
Hmm.
some of those. So I think that it's important to ask specifically. Like, if you really want your book to be like next level quality wise, I think, and all the books I can think of that are like next level at how amazing they are, they don't
Hmm.
really have this problem. So I
Right.
think it's like this sort of like unspoken, unseen ghost haunting
Yeah.
all of these perfectly decent books and my own
Yeah.
books, but it makes such a difference to not
Yeah.
have them. But you have to do so much work, and you have to ask people to read it and specifically read it to look for those things, and it has to be
Hmm.
someone that knows what that looks like.
Right.
So yeah,
It can be
more
hard to know
work.
what to ask for in terms of
Yeah.
editing. So that's definitely something to keep in mind.
Yeah. Yep.
Yep.
That's everything I've got on that.
I know. I think I only had one other point, which you actually sort of already mentioned. Actually, I have a couple little points.
Oh,
Um,
sweet.
so if you are trying to like find a reason for like a character, and when I say like a character getting from A to B, I don't mean just like physical locations, like any kind of, motivation or actions they're taking or whatever. If you're trying to
Mm-hmm.
get them from angry to calm or calm to angry or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
um, I think sometimes, like I said, the instinct is to use, at least for me, like a world building detail. And so sometimes you add stuff and it muddies the magic system or the dystopian universe or the science and the sci-fi, right?
Mm-hmm.
So try not to muddy the universe. You can come up with rules as you go if they make sense and you can apply them in other situations. But if the thing is only applicable to that one situation, I think it's muddying the universe, essentially the world that you're writing in. And so you want to find a different
Yeah.
solution there. Um, and then Ash sort of mentioned this at the beginning, but like skills or talents that just like only get used once or like aren't relevant at all. And I think what happens in this a lot of times is like the author trying to self-insert, because if you as an author also really like to sing, or like obviously most authors like to read or whatever, you might give that trait to your character
Mm-hmm.
but not make it relevant. So like
Yeah.
my example of this is in the Lux series by Jennifer L. Armentrout. Yeah, that's her name. The main character is like a book reviewer, like she has a book blog. And
Mm-hmm.
like it's just never relevant. It's just like the stuff she does on her downtime when she's like mulling things over. And
Yeah.
it could have been relevant. Granted, I haven't read the last book, but I don't see how it would come into play in this one. Um, if it had been like she has this blog, so then she starts telling people a true thing that the government doesn't want her to know,
Mm-hmm.
or like she starts hiding things in those articles, or reads certain books that she wants people to think about. I don't know, just something like that. It would
Yeah.
have been relevant, but it really just felt like a self-insert, like, hey, she likes to read too. And it's like, well, that's not really
Yeah.
relevant here. And your character can like to read, and you don't have to make it a huge plot point, right? You can just say
Yeah.
like in their, I think weird example, Stephanie Meyer did this with Bella Swan in Twilight, right? Like she's shown just reading books occasionally, but it's
Yeah.
never like a big deal. It's
Yeah.
like, this is just what I'm doing in my leisure time. And then whoops, I've been interrupted by Edward showing up or whatever.
Yeah.
That
That's a
is
very good
totally,
example.
yeah, it doesn't have to be like this major character detail. But then you have instances of like really good examples. So like Fable, that's her name, by Adrienne Young.
Mm-hmm.
She's the free diver, right? And that's
Yeah.
so relevant. Like there are so many scenes of her free diving. She's kind of being like used for that skill, but she's also using it for herself. And it's
Mm-hmm.
so relevant in that scenario. I had another example. What was it? Cinder in the Lunar Chronicles, that she can like tinker with stuff, right? She can
Yeah.
like fix herself, and then she also works on the spaceship when her and her crew eventually get a spaceship to wander around in. So
Yeah.
that skill is useful, and it does give like that competency to the main character, but it's not like this tiny little thing in the background to say like, and also she likes this thing that you probably like. It has real relevance.
Yeah. Exactly.
So it's, again, I don't want to say that your characters can never like to read, but I do think this one is overused. I think we have a whole episode about that.
Yeah.
But it needs to be relevant. So like an example of someone that reads that is relevant is like Klaus from Series of Unfortunate Events. His thing
Mm-hmm.
is he's a reader, and so he knows a lot of things, and it comes into play constantly throughout the books that he just like randomly knows what wasabi is, and he just randomly knows what
Yeah.
various scientific things are. But it's relevant to his character in more times than just one. It's not like just like a background thing.
Yeah.
So if your character has a trait or a skill or a talent, I guess I should say, that they're not really using, either make it really background, like something they're just seen doing in their downtime, or
Yeah.
don't bring it up at
Or
all.
don't bring it up.
So,
Yeah. That's how I
yeah.
felt about Talon's boon. First of all, not
Hmm.
everyone in this world has boons. And so I was like,
Yeah.
why didn't you just let him not have a
Hmm.
boon? Which I also think is something that like I would like to see more like fantasy type books where the main characters don't have magic or they're not
Hmm.
like the one with the special magic, you know?
Yes.
Because I think it's more relatable for the everyday person and it's kind of fun and a little bit different to see. So for that
Hmm.
reason, I don't think he needed it. And also because not everyone has it. But even if he was gonna have it, just making it like, and he likes to go hunting a lot with his friends,
Yes.
you
Hmm.
know, background fact.
Yep.
And then it make it never relevant because it's not. Don't force it into
Right.
relevancy. Like I
Exactly.
like to free dive, but that's not relevant to most of my life and
Right.
makes it into very, very, very few conversations
Hmm.
because it's not happening. It's very uncommon. You know what
Right.
does make it into my conversations a lot is probably farm stuff more because it's every day of my life. My kid, every day
Yep.
of my life. My house falling down, every day of my
Hmm.
life. There's other
Should be
things about
condemned.
me that are like probably like the more like unique things, like the mermaid thing is probably fairly unique.
Hmm.
Archery, I do archery, free diving.
Hmm.
These almost never make it into conversation. And if I
Hmm.
was in a life or death situation, would never come up at all.
Right.
Like have zero to do with anything. So
Yeah. Unless you
yeah,
had to like free dive to get away from someone chasing you, which would be
yeah,
cool.
yeah,
But
that would
I
be
would expect to
awesome.
see that hinted at in earlier sections of the book.
Yeah.
But if it wasn't going to happen, I wouldn't expect to see it at all. So it's
No, I
just
mean,
about where you're really going with it.
yeah, I guess the archery thing in the same way could be like similar,
Yep.
but I cannot express to you how average I am at it. There's nothing special about my interest in archery. I love it. I'm
Yeah.
very mediocre at it. So
Sure.
like
No
if
Katniss
it
Everdeen.
no, even if it was relevant, it would be like not even that like notable. It might be
Hmm.
relevant, but it still probably wouldn't be very notable. So
Right.
like, and it's okay for your character to have those things and to
Hmm.
not have anything quote unquote special about them or really unique that comes up because that's just being a person. And
Yeah.
that's okay. And I do think that part of like, especially young adult fantasy, we're so used to seeing people with like these really cool powers and talents and stuff that it can make real life and it can make us kind of feel like unless we have something special working for us, we're not as cool or we're not as valuable. And
Hmm.
it can make us kind of like strive for more, strive to be unique. Like, I'm going to be this person or I'm going to be that kind of person. Like, I'm going to be the mermaid or I'm going to be, what I'm going to be the athlete. And you
Hmm.
can be so multifaceted. You don't have to identify as just one thing. You don't have to just be like, I'm a reader, I'm a writer, I'm a nerd,
Hmm.
whatever it is. Like, just be all of the multifaceted things that you are. And
Right.
that's normal. That's what humans should do. And probably young adult books in general do this a lot just because, young adults are trying to like figure out who they are. But YA
Hmm.
fantasy does it in like really obvious ways with like magical
The
powers and
magic.
stuff.
Hmm.
It's the magic, which sometimes is fun, but just consider like, do all the characters need it? If they have it, does it need to take like the front seat or can it sit in the
Hmm.
back seat?
Yeah.
I don't
Because
know.
if it's a magical universe, theoretically, magic would be very normal to these people. So
Yeah,
backgrounds, not really relevant magical abilities would be pretty commonplace, just
pretty
like your
common.
ability to like do calculus or
Yeah,
whatever.
exactly. Like, hey, like someone who's like really good at math, that's definitely not me, but like
Yeah. Someone out there knows how to do calculus, and it's
someone out there
probably
can
not
do
the
it.
main detail of their life.
No, it's probably not.
Yeah. So,
Yeah,
magic can work that way too
yeah. Anyways, that was a
in books.
slight divergence, but is there
Yeah.
anything else that you want to share about this topic?
I don't think so. And I guess just one last thing. Anything that like gives your characters a kind of weird or wrong vibe. So like just something that in which they're acting really out of character just for you to get to like the next scene. Either have them
Hmm.
act in character or have someone else do the thing or get there just naturally.
Yep.
Because I think sometimes, there'll occasionally be like that one scene and you're like, man, this made me really question if I liked him, or this made me really question if she was really that smart. And it's like, well,
Yeah.
try not to do. I mean, people are, smart people are capable of being dumb and good
Hmm.
people are capable of doing bad things and stuff, but
Yeah.
you probably don't want to totally change your readers' opinions on the characters just for this one weird plot device scene. So
Yeah.
unless it's foreshadowing or something you're
Hmm.
specifically trying to show like another side of them to make people worried or whatever.
Yeah.
I feel like murder mysteries do that a lot, where
They
someone will
do.
be like totally nice for a while and then they'll just like yell at someone. And then the main character will be like, "Ooh, maybe they're the murderer." And it's like, okay,
Yeah.
well, that's a red herring, so you want to use it there. But if
Yeah.
it's not relevant and it's not meant to like deflect attention or foreshadow or whatever, you don't want people
Yeah.
acting out of character just because sometimes real people do.
Yeah.
Um, because books like again, I think we talked about this before. They don't it mimics life, but it can't be exact. So you want to
Yeah.
kind of focus things. So if you find that your characters are giving off like I don't know what else to call it, just like the wrong vibe,
Yeah.
where they're just
If
not
they seem
themselves.
inconsistent, if they just seem
Yes.
inconsistent. Yeah.
Like once. That's just
Yeah.
like, okay, you can probably cut that or do something different with that. So
Yeah, exactly. Or you can just, or like, for example, if it's someone like your example of they yell at someone, like
mhm.
show them like holding back their temper a few times. Make it
Yes.
relevant. You can make things relevant. That's some things you
Yes.
can like remold into a way that do fit.
Yes.
I just
Editing.
editing. That's what editing is.
Yeah.
Beware, that's not saying, oh, just remold your plot device.
Mm,
Often that's not, often just cutting it out is your best
right.
option and replacing it with something else entirely. But there are some things, especially character things, that you can
Mhm.
kind of mold to make more sense.
Yeah, just to start indicating this character trait or this
Yeah.
decision they're going to make earlier
Yeah.
on.
And if
Yeah.
it feels too difficult to do that, then it's probably the wrong one.
Yes.
Yeah.
If you have to start changing everyone else and like changing plot points and you don't think that's going to be worth the payoff, then it's probably something you just need to cut.
Yep. Completely. All right.
Yeah. So that's
Sweet.
it. Yeah.
Nice. Well, do you have any writing updates that you want to share?
Um, I've been very lazily writing. I'm working on another book. I when I went to my cousin's wedding, I was just very distracted and it's been hard for me to get back into the zone.
Hmm.
So I did hit a little writer's block. So, my character is currently just wandering around talking to bakers and butchers and, just
Oh, that's so
doing
good.
stuff that really is not going to stay in the final draft. You will never see that. Um, but I'm having trouble figuring out like the conflict. Like basically there's going to be an attempted, will it be successful or not, like overthrow of the government. And
Ooh.
I can't, for some reason, this is so stupid. I cannot figure out how to make this government evil, which feels like the easiest thing to do of all time.
Hmm.
Like, governments are
Yeah.
literally known for being evil, but
Yeah.
I just can't because I need them to be just good enough
Hmm.
that the people fighting on their behalf could still be good guys,
Yeah.
but evil enough that like they're
Hmm.
not. So
Yeah. I
it's
think
hard.
I think a strategy for that is like control, because
Mm,
control can be used for good things, like parents control some situations for their kids, or it
true.
can just be used to take advantage of people. But it's
Hmm.
easy to get confused between the two. And
True.
sometimes maybe you support something because they say, yes, we took away your freedom, but it's because we're trying to offer this good thing to you,
Right.
which may or may not be true.
Right.
So I don't know. I don't know if that's helpful, but I think
No,
about
that's
that a
good.
lot.
Like these are just thoughts I have on the regular.
As an anarchist, I'm just kidding. I'm
Yeah.
not an anarchist.
Oh my gosh. You
Um,
would fit really well in this story. But yeah, so that's basically I think that I'm just trying to work through this draft. I feel like I can't move on until it's done. And that's
mhm.
part of I'm almost like forcing myself to stay in the reading slump, which is stupid because probably if I started reading, I would be able to fix the writer's block.
Yeah.
But I just have to like mentally get into a place where I can say, okay, I'm just gonna take a break and then I will come back when I actually have an answer to this.
Yeah.
So that's
Yep.
where I am.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
I don't have much of a writing update, which is not surprising. I am trying to prioritize like sort of rewriting, fixing up this old it's like more like contemporary fiction or like speculative fiction, which is not my usual, but probably
Hmm.
because I'm like in still like in my thriller era. So I'm
Hmm.
like, it's got more of those elements. So I'm trying to see like if I can naturally skew it more thriller. And if not,
Right.
regardless, I'm gonna get it in better shape because I feel better about writing new content when I have something to query. And I don't know why, but like I
Yeah.
really do. So I want to keep working. I've got two other books I'm working on that I feel like are really strong and I really
Hmm.
enjoy, but I really, really want to have something to query because it helps with my anxiety. So
Yeah.
I'm kind of prioritizing that, but I'm still like my book that has to do with a cult. I'm still actively doing a lot of research on cults because I really want it to be relevant and relatable in the sense like because I hear a lot of people say like I just don't know how anyone could like get sucked in by a cult, right?
Hmm.
And so I want to sort of somehow shine a light on how like a totally intelligent, normal, autonomous person could kind of find themselves sucked into that. But it's
Hmm.
difficult because my main characters, neither one of them are like voluntarily in the cult.
Ah,
So I'm like, it's I have to come at it from a really different angle. So I'm doing like a
right.
ton of thinking and research about that one. The
Hmm.
other one is not even like I know exactly where the story's going. I just need to take the time to sit down and write.
Hmm.
Which I'm knock on wood, hoping that I'm going to get to do this next month because Javi is going to be away at army stuff a lot. So that gives me a little bit more free time, like time that I would usually like be like, I'm going to spend it with him while I've got him.
Hmm.
But I'm going to have a little more free time. So I'm going to try. It's too hot. I have no garden. Like after I wrestle antibiotic drops into my dog's ears, maybe I'll come inside with a glass of wine or a little bit of whiskey and actually
Yeah.
try and make progress because I'm like a significant portion of the way through my rewrite, through
Mm.
my like Cinderella
Yeah.
retelling, through my cult book. Like I'm a significant like amount of effort into all of these.
Yes. You're not going to drop them. You're like, I have to
Yeah,
finish. Yes.
yeah. So, anyways. And my Cinderella one actually is a really good example of where it gets to the point where I'm like, hey, could you pretty please read this? I feel like there are some things in there that are just plot device.
Hmm.
We'll see. It's
Got to
also
keep an
hard
eye
because
out.
like yeah, because it's a retelling, I'm like there are certain plot points you kind of have to hit.
Hmm.
So like to spur things on, I'm like plot
Yeah.
device and I'm like I don't know if that's relevant or just a plot device. So It's gonna
Yeah,
be hard.
like when I was doing my Lord of the Flies retelling, it was that scene where they put the head on the spike, in the
Yeah.
original. I was
Hmm.
like, I literally don't know how to weave this in. And I think sometimes it comes across as like a plot device, but I tried to make it like a
Oh,
sign
I
that they're
didn't
going
use it.
insane. Okay,
Yeah.
good. Because it's supposed to indicate like they're going insane, which is the point in the original. But I'm like,
Yeah.
it's so hard to see a modern day like 16-year-old just like
Hmm.
planting a pig's head on a spike. So I'm
Yep.
like, retellings are weird because you
It
want to hit those
is.
points, but sometimes they don't feel like they work in modern day or with that
Hmm.
character. So
Yeah, it is.
strange.
And I will say this is not directly relevant to any of the things that I'm writing, but has been sort of like a new way I've been approaching like the podcasts I listen to because I'm very, very picky about the podcasts I listen to. I listen to a lot of true crime, but I also don't want to treat like actual horrible things that happen to people as entertainment.
Ah,
So, but I'm very fascinated by like the investigation, like the
right.
process, and also the psyche, so like of how people do what they do. It's very interesting.
Hmm.
So I've been like very intentionally like looking for specific episodes that a character not see and this I don't want to view them as characters, but like I'm using it for sort of research purposes a lot where I'm like, okay,
Hmm.
this person did something and I don't understand how they could have done that, and I want to understand more about that. And so I'll
Right.
like intentionally listen to like that episode and be like, oh, interesting. So
Hmm.
that's like an ongoing thing, which is more just to understand more about human nature, but also because like I don't want, especially writing thrillers, like I don't want to write a character who does something and it seems totally unrealistic. Or to write a character who does something and it's like, what a monster. So glad real
Yeah.
people wouldn't do that because real people do horrible things.
Yep.
So I'm like I don't want it to be so realistic in my writing that it's like, just rip your heart out. That's not really my
Hmm.
style. But it's kind of like our with rules of grammar, like know them so you can know when to break the rules. Like I want
Yeah.
to know what the reality is so I can decide which elements I want to pull in.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. That makes
So
sense.
that's where I'm at with lots and lots of research and
Cool.
3 ongoing projects that are well underway and not enough time to finish them.
I know this. I really try not to be working on more than one book at a time. I'm not going to say I've always succeeded, but when I
Mhm.
force myself to just like not start the new one until I finish the old one, I
Yeah.
feel like I do better. So I don't know if it's not helpful now. I'm just giving you a lot of advice today that would have been helpful like 10 years ago, but
No, it's fine. And I definitely prefer to work on one.
hmm.
What basically happened was I was loving my Cinderella retelling, but I was also in my thriller era. And so I
Hmm.
kept getting distracted by the thrillers I was reading. And I was like, maybe I just need to get out of my system. Maybe there's a
Yeah.
sign that I need to like write this thriller. And I do
Yes.
still think that that's true. But then I also have anxiety if I'm not querying something actively. So I was like,
Right.
oh, but the only thing that I want to query right now needs some rewriting because it needs to be updated.
Yep.
So yeah,
Many things.
ideally I will get to just one at a
Yeah.
time. That's where I prefer to be at. I often bounce between like 2 primary ones, like I'll hit writer's block with one and then go to the other one.
Yeah, that can be a
But
good strategy too. So,
yeah, but 3 is definitely more than I want to be working on at once, and I'm not having a good time.
yeah. I like to be like writing one and then maybe editing because unless
Yeah.
I'm doing like a major overhaul edit, I can kind of just stop editing if I
Hmm.
want. But,
Yep.
you know,
Yeah.
it is
I
what it
feel that.
is.
It is what it is. Was
Yeah.
there anything else that you want to share with the listeners?
Nope. It's all for
Sweet.
me.
All right. That's all for me, folks.
It's all for me.
Um, Anyways, if you guys enjoyed this podcast, the Scripturient Society, we are on Instagram and we are on TikTok. We are, I think, also on Facebook. No, that Pretentious Book Club is technically on Facebook, but we don't really use it. I've been
Yeah.
informed that Facebook is for old people. So perhaps you guys can confirm if that's true or not. But definitely Instagram and TikTok, lots of fun stuff there, lots of motivation to keep you guys going. We are back from hiatus, so you guys can expect these episodes coming back bi-weekly once again. So that's exciting. We would love to hear about what you guys are writing, which is a big part of the writing process, is talking about what you're working on with other people, and we're all inspiring each other and encouraging each other. And maybe you have some like really foolproof solutions for like how to avoid these just purely plot devices. We want to hear from you guys.
Yeah.
So if you guys want to join our writers group on Discord, the link is below the chat. I have not checked it in a little while. I will be honest about that because not a lot of people use it. But I would love to get to the point where we are and people are using it more often and we could talk about writing more often. So if you guys want, join that. Otherwise, you can also reach out to us on social media or email us at contact@storysirensstudio.com. The website just got an update recently, so it's a little bit more, as Karissa would say, aesthetically pleasing.
Yes.
I would say aesthetically, but aesthetically pleasing.
Yes.
And there's some more information about our new co-host, Gino, over at That Pretentious Book Club. We are also done with hiatus over there, although there is no set schedule over there. So there will be episodes
as the mood strikes.
coming as the mood strikes, as we're able. I actually do think that Kendall is available, so I do think that we're going to weirdly, actually, at least for the next 2 months, probably have episodes coming out over there. So go check it out if you haven't.
Nice.
Yeah, but otherwise, that's everything that we've got for you guys. So leave us a rating, subscribe so you get all the updates. And until next week, keep writing.
And we'll see you on the next page.